We all know that tourism is a major national and international activity and economic sector. It accounts for maybe 9% of the world economy, and tourism is on a long-term growth trend. There's a potential for a lot of good coming out of tourism, of course, individual and collective good, but we can all imagine that there's also potential for less positive effects from this major international industry and activity. There's been a lot of growth in tourism management degree programs in the UK, in Europe, and increasingly worldwide. They're very popular. And an obvious question to ask is, how can education for sustainable development be implemented in learning and teaching for tourism at the higher education level? Everybody enjoys holidays and holiday making, and Britain is a major international tourism market. But holiday choice can make a major impact on people's annual environmental impact, the emissions caused by individuals' lifestyles. And tapping into this sort of common shared experience can be a very successful way of getting people to think critically about ideas and concepts of sustainability and ethical consumerism, of which tourism is just one example or dimension. We don't want to focus on the negatives because, of course, there's plenty of positives, but challenges for the planet, of course, include things like resource depletion, habitat degradation and species loss, population growth, and pollution and man-made climate change. A learning and teaching program might be divided into 4 areas. Firstly, we might ask students to think about their everyday lifestyles and thinking about the things we consume, products we do buy and products we refuse to buy. We might think about things like hybrid cars, green energy, and avoiding products which may involve child labour or sweatshop conditions. Secondly, to ask students to think about the meanings and their understanding of key terms in the debate. Environment, environmentalism, environmental issues, what do these mean to people? What's the difference between standard of living and quality of life? Sustainability, what does that term mean to our student groups? And sustainable development, the extension of that. Thirdly, ask student groups to get analytic about things. Ask them to analyse the impacts of a typical holiday. That's the negatives, sure, but the positives too. Economic, environmental and social, which is the way we usually divide up analysis of sustainability issues. And identify priorities for action in the future. And fourthly and finally, get students to do some imagineering in tourism. What would a more sustainable or responsible holiday actually look like? So we need to support students to debate and devise solutions which they think will work in the 21st century. What behavioural changes could reduce the impacts of tourism? And overall, what barriers might there be to achieving these new, more sustainable, more responsible patterns of holiday making? And how can we think about the future? How can we overcome or address these barriers to perhaps a more responsible and a more sustainable tourism industry in the 21st century?